I'm Vivian, entering this world just moments after my twin sister. However, I was born with a congenital deformity in my leg, a small gap that appeared to set our paths apart. There were nights when I lay awake, questioning whether fate had already determined that I would forever be a mere shadow beside her brilliant light. Have you ever experienced that gut-wrenching feeling of being abandoned by your own family, as if you were something unwanted that nobody bothered to pick up? This story will uncover why that feeling has stayed with me all this time. Pay attention, because what I'm about to share isn't just about injustice, it's a deep wound that will never heal. Sophia and I came into the world in a charming white wooden house, tucked away in the serene suburbs of Oregon, surrounded by vast barley fields that rolled out under the moody gray sky. Margaret and Henry Carter, our parents, truly embodied the essence of middle-class America. My mother, an interior designer, always strutted in with her golden hair tied high and her polished heels clicking against the floor, making every day feel like a fashion show. My father owned a small auto repair shop, always covered in grease, but exuding the calm confidence of a man deeply devoted to his family. On the surface, we appeared to be the ideal image of family joy. It wasn't until you saw that picture that you noticed I was just a faint, hurriedly drawn smudge in the background. Favoritism kicked off when we were only 4 years old, the time when everything between twin sisters was meant to be perfectly identical, just like 2 drops of water. Sophia was undeniably the shining star in our parents' eyes. The first time I really noticed it was unforgettable. Our mother took us shopping at the local mall. Sophia strutted out of the store in her shiny new pastel pink Adidas sneakers, sparkling under the lights, while I followed behind in my worn-out sandals from the discount bin. "Vivian, there's no need for new shoes right now. Your feet aren't growing fast enough," my mother spoke, her voice soft yet piercing, then turned to caress Sophia's hair. "Sophia, you need to shine at your friend's birthday party." I stood there, gripping the plastic bag with my cheap sandals, overwhelmed by the feeling that I had been cast out of my own family's world. The differences went beyond just clothes. Our shared birthday was the most striking evidence of all. At 7, my mother hosted an unforgettable backyard party, bursting with balloons, a stunning 3-tier cake, and a clown to keep us entertained. Sophia twirled in her dazzling turquoise princess gown, while I stood out in a worn gray jumpsuit my mother had dug up from the depths of the closet. When it was time to cut the cake, Sophia always got the biggest slice, piled high with extra frosting and fresh strawberries, while mine was a small, awkward piece, as if someone had rushed to chop it off just to finish the task. "Sophia adores sweets, so you should definitely let your sister indulge a bit more," my father declared, his voice deep and resolute. He then turned to Sophia, beaming as she proudly displayed her new gift, an expensive American Girl doll. I, however, got my hands on an old stuffed bear from a thrift store. Its fur was tangled and it had one eye missing. Sophia turned even extracurricular activities into her own stage. At just 8 years old, my mother signed her up for ballet, then violin lessons, and every week she was taken to the cultural center, her smile shining bright. One day, I boldly asked, "Mom, can I learn ballet too?" She shot me a look, her eyes icy, as if I had just uttered something utterly absurd. "Vivian, we can only afford one of you right now. Sophia has the talent, so it might be best for you to stay home and dive into some books." I swallowed hard, nodded, and slipped away to my corner with the worn-out book I had read countless times. Sophia twirled in her new ballet shoes, our parents' proud eyes glued to her every move. It's like I'm invisible. The family photos adorning the living room wall conveyed this story more vividly than any words could express. Sophia always took center stage, radiating in her lavish dresses, while I found myself relegated to the edge of the frame, my sorrowful eyes concealed by untamed hair. I once caught my mother boasting to a neighbor on the phone. "Sophia is an absolute treasure. Absolutely stunning and incredibly talented. Not a single mention of me. It's as if I'm just a ghost in my own home." These small wounds accumulated, like pebbles pressing down on my heart. I convinced myself that fancy dresses and new shoes weren't necessary. What I truly craved. I want my parents' attention. Their love is captivating. It was something I would never get. Sophia shone brightly. I was merely a forgotten shadow. As time went on, the gap between Sophia and me only widened, each day feeling like a sharp blade cutting deeper into my heart. Family celebrations, from birthdays to Christmas, turned into Sophia's stage, leaving me as a mere forgotten spectator on the sidelines. My parents, Margaret and Henry, appeared to overlook the fact that they had twin daughters. In their eyes, only Sophia sparkled, while I felt like nothing more than a speck of dust, unworthy of their attention. I'll never forget our 10th birthday. It's a memory that stays with me forever. My mother turned our backyard into a magical wonderland, with vibrant crimson ribbons swaying from the trees and a dessert table brimming with delicious chocolate-frosted cupcakes. Sophia dazzled in her regal purple silk dress, adorned with vibrant flowers, making her look like a princess from a fairy tale. I, on the other hand, was rocking an old, worn-out sweater that my mother had fished out from the back of the closet, an unremarkable brown that went completely unnoticed. As the guests arrived, my mother drew Sophia into the spotlight, her voice brimming with pride. "Hey, everyone! Check out how stunning my Sophia looks today!" I stood quietly by the wooden fence. My fingers clutched the slats, captivated as every gaze shifted to her in awe. My father was engrossed in taking pictures. The camera lens zeroed in on Sophia as she blew out the candles. Meanwhile, I was just a fleeting blur in the background, caught only when I reached for a slice of cake. The family photos lining the hallway only highlighted this injustice. In a vibrant snapshot from a nearby park when we were 9, Sophia stood at the center, gripping a bright red balloon, her smile radiating under the sun. My parents embraced her tightly while I was shoved aside, nearly concealed behind an oak tree, my lost gaze overlooked by everyone. I once caught my mother boasting to our neighbor over the fence, "Sophia is a little prodigy." At just 10 years old, she's already captivating audiences with her violin solos at the school festival. I stood there, gripping my sketchbook, still buzzing from my art teacher's praise. Yet, my mother didn't even take a moment to look at it. "Let's talk about Vivian," the neighbor inquired. My mother chuckled dryly. "Oh, she's simply just average, nothing remarkable." I began to put in extra effort at school, believing that achieving perfect grades would finally catch my parents' attention. Back in elementary school, I dove headfirst into assignments, burned the midnight oil tackling math problems, and devoured books until my eyes ached. At 11 years old, I proudly brought home a first-place award from the school's science competition. My father took a quick look at it and offered a half-hearted nod. "Great job, Vivian." He then turned to Sophia. "Hey there, how was your violin practice today? What feedback did your teacher give you?" Sophia radiated joy, her voice sparkling with enthusiasm. She confidently declared, "I'm the best in the group. I'm excited to share that next week. I'll be performing a solo." My mother rested a hand on her shoulder, her eyes sparkling with emotion. "Sophia, that's incredible. You truly make me proud." The award sat alone on the table, untouched and forgotten, never to be picked up again. Despite my hard work, it felt insignificant next to Sophia's accomplishments. Yet, there were moments when I questioned whether those achievements were as impressive as our parents claimed. Sophia came home with a bronze medal from the district ballet competition, and my mother celebrated by throwing a special dinner featuring roasted beef and homemade pudding. "My daughter is a star," she exclaimed, wrapping her arms around Sophia so tightly that I worried she might suffocate. I had just been selected for my school's debate team, an impressive achievement for someone our age. When I shared the news, my father simply muttered, "Good, but you need to try harder." "It's time to go congratulate Sophia." I swallowed hard, retreated to my room, and shut the door to block out the laughter from the dining room that pierced my heart. The holidays intensified my sense of being an outsider in my own home. At 12 on Christmas, the living room tree was bursting with presents, and the majority were for Sophia. A charming music box, cozy hand-knitted gloves, and a dazzling silver necklace. I got a simple paper notebook and a basic ballpoint pen. "Hey, Vivian, you're not really into big gifts, are you?" my mother said, her voice both light and sharp, before she turned to help Sophia open her music box. I nodded and put on a smile, but inside, I was screaming. I deserve love, too. The injustice kept intensifying, like a fire smoldering deep within me. One day, while I was in the kitchen, I accidentally overheard my parents talking, and suddenly, everything clicked into place. My father's voice carried a low, resonant tone. "Sophia exceeds all our expectations." "However, Vivian," my mother cut in, "she's making us look bad, Henry. Let her take charge and figure out her own life. Let's keep it simple and not get too involved." My heart raced to a halt. The question lingered in my thoughts. What will it take for them to realize I'm not just a foolish, useless child? The night I caught my parents whispering in the kitchen, something inside me broke. Their words struck me like a hammer, shattering the last glimmer of hope I clung to. Vivian, just 12 years old, stood frozen in the hallway, fists clenched tight as silent tears streamed down onto the cold wooden floor. In that moment, I realized that my parents' love was not something I could plead for or battle to earn. Sophia owned it. To them, I was just an afterthought. I faced that pain head-on and made a bold choice. If I can't win their hearts, I'll forge my own way forward. Whether my legs are flawed or not, I immersed myself in studying, driven by an intense desire to prove my worth. Night after night, in my small room illuminated by the soft glow of my desk lamp, I tackled challenging math problems, memorized the periodic table, and penned essays until my hands throbbed. I stopped bringing home certificates. They felt utterly insignificant against the backdrop of my parents' indifference. I stashed them away in my drawer, like hidden medals that showcased my value. At school, I started to stand out. At just 13, I clinched the top spot in the school math competition, outshining students 2 grades ahead of me. Mrs. Parker, with her keen gaze and striking silver hair, summoned me to the front of the class, her voice brimming with pride. "Vivian, your talent is exceptional. This solution is truly impressive." I offered a subtle smile, savoring the sharp taste of victory. At home, it feels like no one really cares. Sophia certainly did. She started to watch me intently, her eyes narrowed and her expression clearly showing irritation. Whenever a teacher praised me, I could hear her pencil tapping furiously against the desk, as if she were trying to pierce the wood. During science class one day, I was picked to explain a chemistry experiment, and I caught Sophia scoffing under her breath, just loud enough for me to hear. "It seems like you had the answer ready to go, but that doesn't really show intelligence." I faced her, my voice icy. "If that's your belief, why not put it to the test and try to beat me?" Her face turned crimson, and she went quiet, but I could sense the spark of jealousy igniting within her. That night, I perched on the staircase, tuning in as Sophia wept to our mother in the living room. "Mom, the teachers really don't like me. They won't stop praising Vivian, and it's making me look bad in front of everyone in class." Her voice shook, brimming with resentment. My mother's reply cut through the air like a pair of scissors. "What's going on? How could they?" "Sophia, you're amazing, and everyone recognizes that." I clenched my jaw, eager to find out her next move. The next morning, my mother burst into the school, her high heels echoing fiercely against the hallway floor, her perfume filling the air with intensity. I crouched behind a bookshelf in the library, eyes locked on her as she stormed into the principal's office, her voice booming with authority. I'm eager to understand why the teachers here are treating my Sophia unfairly. Mrs. Parker stayed unnervingly composed. "Mrs. Carter, let me show you the grades. Vivian has always been at the forefront. Sophia really needs to step up her game. My mother ended things with her. Are you implying that my Sophia isn't good enough? It's obvious you have a preference for Vivian." As soon as she got home, I could hear her passionately ranting to my father during dinner. "These teachers are completely out of line. How can they say that Sophia isn't as good as Vivian? They're humiliating her just to boost Vivian's ego." My father let out a low growl. "That school is just terrible. Sophia is the one who truly deserves the spotlight, while Vivian just doesn't stand out. Perhaps they feel sorry for her due to her disability." I stood outside the door, my heart racing. No matter how much they defended Sophia, they had no idea how deeply their words pierced me. Yet, I was aware of the truth. I was at my best. No one can take that away from me. My achievements kept piling on. At just 14, I clinched first place in the statewide essay competition with my compelling piece on climate change, which was even published in the local newspaper. Mr. Harris, my English teacher, gave my shoulder a reassuring pat. "Vivian, your future is incredibly promising. Refuse to let anyone stand in your way." I nodded, a surge of pride filling me up. Despite knowing that my mother would toss the newspaper into the trash as soon as she spotted my name, I couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. Sophia, on the other hand, became increasingly resentful. In a sudden burst of anger, she hurled my notebook to the floor, her voice dripping with fury. "Do you really think you're that amazing? Get ready, because I'm about to prove that I'm the one who truly deserves all the accolades." With a smirk, I grabbed my notebook. "Give it a shot, Sophia. What truly captivated me happened on a rainy night when I unexpectedly caught my parents in a heated argument in the garage. My father's voice carried a weight that was hard to ignore. If Vivian continues on this path, she's set to outshine Sophia. What's our plan of action? My mother's voice was eerily serene. Don't worry, Henry. We'll figure this out together. Discover a solution. Are you trying to stop me? What did they have in store for me? At 16, I made a bold choice. If my parents didn't need me, then I wouldn't lean on them either. The mocking words and disdainful glances from my mother and Sophia had finally pushed me to my breaking point. I was determined to stand on my own 2 feet, regardless of the challenges that lay ahead or the ridicule aimed at my imperfect hands. On a drizzly afternoon in Oregon, I stepped into Honey Bloom, a cozy bakery near my school, holding a quickly scribbled job application on lined paper. The owner, a middle-aged woman with vibrant curly red hair, looked at me intently over her round glasses. Are you really ready to take on this job, kid? This job is challenging. I nodded, my voice strong and unwavering. I'm ready to put in the effort because I need the money. With a bright smile, she handed me a pale yellow apron. Great news, Vivian. You're starting tomorrow. The job was far from easy. I dedicated hours to wiping tables, baking pastries, and brewing coffee, with the scent of flour lingering in my hair and my hands feeling the heat from hot trays. Every dollar I earned was a crucial brick in building my freedom. I was finally free from begging my mother for a few dollars to buy books, and I no longer had to endure her sneers. Vivian, what's the money for? Sophia faces genuine expenses. One morning, as I fastened my apron and prepared for work, Sophia walked by, clutching a smoothie our mother had just whipped up. She flashed a smirk. Wow, are you really thinking about baking for the long haul? That's just sad. I can't help but feel sorry for you. Mother stood beside her, hands on her hips, and said, Vivian, stop embarrassing this family. Sophia is diving into her singing lessons with enthusiasm. Leave her alone. I shot them a quick look, tightened my shoelaces, and said confidently, Don't worry, I don't need anyone to feel embarrassed for me. Life was more than just the insults I had learned to brush off. One evening, while I was clearing off my mother's desk to create room for my homework, I stumbled upon an old, worn leather notebook. Inside, beneath the heading, No Contact, a handwritten address caught my eye. Eleanor and Thomas Reed, 47 Pine Lane, Astoria. Astoria, a charming coastal town, is just over an hour away by bus, boasting tree-lined streets and a refreshing ocean breeze. That's when it hit me. Years ago, my mother shouted into the phone, her voice brimming with fury. I'm done with you, Mother. Living in that dilapidated house is just too much. It's embarrassing for me. These were my grandparents, the ones my mother cut off simply because she viewed them as poor and disgraceful. I went for it without a second thought. The following day, rather than heading to the bakery, I hopped on a bus, gripping the scrap of paper with the address tightly, my heart racing as if it might burst from my chest. As the bus came to a halt at Pine Lane, I jumped off, feeling the invigorating salty sea breeze tousle my hair. A small wooden house stood before me, its white paint peeling, yet the front yard burst with vibrant wildflowers in full bloom. I knocked, my breath hitching in my throat. The door creaked open, unveiling an elderly woman with silver hair tied low, her deep blue eyes brimming with quiet wisdom, alongside an old man sporting steel-rimmed glasses and clutching a folded newspaper. They gazed at me, wide-eyed, until I broke the silence. Hi, I'm Vivian Carter, and I believe I'm your granddaughter. Eleanor gripped her chest, her voice quaking with emotion. Wow, Thomas, it's really her. Thomas stepped forward, his eyes shining with intensity. You resemble Margaret in her youth, but what brings you here? They ushered me in, and the delightful aroma of apple pie enveloped the inviting room. I shared my story of my mother, of Sophia, and the long years of being overlooked. Eleanor grasped my hand, her wrinkled fingers radiating unexpected warmth. Vivian, you have no idea how much we've missed you. Margaret may have kept us apart, but you were always in our hearts. Thomas nodded, his voice firm and unwavering. In this place, your family stands strong. You're not just a shadow of anyone. After that, I started visiting them frequently, telling my mother I was working night shifts at the bakery. They welcomed me with simple dinners, potato soup, and toasted bread, but every meal overflowed with a love I had never experienced from my parents. Eleanor showed me the art of knitting, and Thomas captivated me with tales of his youthful adventures sailing along the coast. For the first time, I felt recognized, genuinely cherished. One afternoon, as I delivered a box of cookies I had baked myself, Eleanor hugged me tightly and whispered, "You are the greatest gift we have, Vivian. Happiness never sticks around without a storm brewing." One evening, while I was washing dishes in their kitchen, the phone suddenly rang. Eleanor answered the call, and her face drained of color. "Absolutely, Margaret is right here with us." I stood still, water cascading over my hands. My mother had discovered me. What will she do now that she knows where I am? Graduation day burst onto the scene like a swift breeze sweeping across Oregon's barley fields, carrying a whirlwind of joy and bittersweet emotions. I, Vivian, stood on the school auditorium stage, my deep blue gown flowing dramatically as my name echoed through the room. I am the valedictorian of my class. Applause echoed around me, yet in the family section, my parents, Margaret and Henry, stood out, silently nodding, their faces a mystery. When Sophia's name was announced, my parents sprang to their feet, cheering wildly, even though she graduated with just average grades. "Sophia, you're incredible. We're bursting with pride for you." It was as though she had just clinched a Nobel Prize. I pressed my lips together, clutching my diploma with determination. I reminded myself that my accomplishments stand strong on their own, without needing anyone else's approval. Yet, beneath it all, a part of me still longed for them to truly notice me. The next morning, I bounded downstairs with a sense of lightness, excited that graduation could signal a fresh start. My mother stood in the kitchen, coffee mug in hand, a rare smile dancing on her lips. "Kids, we have some thrilling news," she announced, her voice filled with excitement, as if she were revealing a lottery win. Sophia leaped down the stairs, her ponytail dancing and her eyes shining with excitement. "What is it, Mom?" she chirped, bouncing around the table. My father walked in, beaming as he held 3 plane tickets. "Get ready for an exciting summer vacation in California as we celebrate Sophia's graduation. The stunning beaches of Santa Barbara are calling our names." My heart raced, a spark of hope igniting within me. Could it be? Maybe, just maybe, I was finally part of a family plan. But then, my mother turned to me, her voice dripping with sweetness. "Vivian, you're in charge of the house while we're gone, right? We can't just leave it unattended. Plus, you're tied up with your baking job, right?" Sophia stifled a laugh, her hand covering her mouth. "Absolutely. Keep wiping those tables, sis. I'll be sending you tons of pictures." I was completely stunned, like a bucket of ice water had just splashed over me. What's going on? I just graduated, and I was the valedictorian. What's holding me back from going? I snapped, my hands shaking with intensity. My father frowned and responded sharply. "Sophia deserves a vacation to unwind after all her hard work. You're all good. Taking a few weeks at home is no big deal." My mother nodded and added, "Vivian, you're incredibly smart. That means it's important for you to stay home and focus on your studies. Sophia has worked hard and really deserves a break. She's worn out." I dashed to my room, fighting back the tears that were ready to spill. So, they didn't need me? All right, I'll show that I can do this without them too. The next morning, I stood by the front door, eyes fixed on the taxi, whisking my parents and Sophia away, a cloud of dust swirling in its wake. Sophia leaned out the window, waving with a self-satisfied grin. "Farewell, Vivian. Feel free to admire my beach photos, but no jealousy allowed." I tightened my fists, then stormed back into the house and grabbed the phone. "Grandma, they abandoned me," I said, my voice strained. She replied right away, with a tone that was both inviting and assertive. "Hey, Vivian, hop on the bus and head our way. We've got an exciting surprise waiting for you." I packed a few clothes, feeling my heart lift, as if I had just released a heavy weight. As the bus came to a halt in Astoria, I jumped off, feeling the salty ocean breeze playfully tugging at my hair. I came to a sudden halt in front of my grandparents' house, completely taken aback. A stunning bright red Ford Mustang gleamed in the driveway, basking in the sunlight. Eleanor and Thomas stood on the porch, my grandfather proudly displaying a set of keys, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "This is your graduation gift, Vivian," he said, his voice deep and steady. I couldn't believe my eyes. "Wait, how on earth did you manage to afford this?" Eleanor yanked me onto the living room couch, her grip on my hands fierce and unyielding. "Hey there, Once Margaret cut us off, we dove into a few small tech companies, and now they've skyrocketed, leaving us wealthier than your mother ever dreamed. We've opted for a simple lifestyle, keeping our wealth under the radar. I wrapped my arms around them, tears streaming down my face. For the first time, it's not about pain. It's all about happiness. I can't believe this. I always thought you... Thomas let out a laugh, interrupting me. We were ready and waiting for the moment you needed us the most. On that day, they surprised me with a delightful little celebration. Apple pie, grilled meat, and a handwritten sign that boldly proclaimed, "Congratulations, valedictorian Vivian." For the first time, I truly felt like all eyes were on me, more than just a shadow. Suddenly, my phone buzzed nonstop with messages from Sophia. Check out these stunning photos of her relaxing on the Santa Barbara beach, complete with captivating captions. Enjoy your time at home, living like a princess. I caught sight of the Mustang parked outside, grinned, and responded, "Congratulations, sis." I discovered my own happiness as well. Just as I set my phone down, Eleanor strode in, clutching a thick envelope, her expression all business. "Vivian, we need to have a conversation about something important. Your mom just called back, and she's aware you're here. It looks like she's up to something exciting." For 2 weeks after my parents and Sophia headed to California, I absolutely thrived in Astoria. The vibrant red Mustang was my trusty companion, effortlessly cruising along the coastal roads, embodying a freedom I had never experienced before. I continued my journey at Honeybloom, but this time, every dollar I earned was for my future, not to impress anyone. Sophia kept sending those envy-inducing photos, relaxing by the pool and sipping a cocktail on the beach. Captions like, "This is real life. Hope you're having a great time at home," always catch my attention. I couldn't help but smirk as my fingers glided over the leather steering wheel, fully aware that she had no clue I had already escaped the confines of the shadow they had trapped me in. I was ready the day they returned. I parked the Mustang right in front of our house in Oregon. The glossy red paint glimmers in the sunlight, demanding attention. Inside, I settled into the living room, feigning interest in my book, but my gaze was glued to the window. The taxi screeched to a halt, sending a swirl of dust into the air. Sophia was the first to emerge, sun-kissed, strutting with designer shopping bags in hand and a dazzling smile on her face. Mother trailed behind, her blonde hair tousled by the wind, as my father struggled with heavy suitcases, sweat beading on his forehead. They were chatting animatedly when my mother suddenly froze, her gaze fixed on the car. "Oh my God, what is that?" she shrieked, her voice soaring like a siren as she pointed at the Mustang, treating it like an alien spaceship. Sophia collided with her, almost losing her grip on her bags, her mouth agape in surprise. "What? Thinking about a new car? Who parked this here?" My father dropped the suitcases, his face turning bright red from the heat and surprise. "Vivian, come out here right now." I stepped onto the porch, hands tucked in my pockets, and flashed a smirk. "Hey, Dad, what's up? Not a fan of my new car?" They looked at me, their eyes ablaze with disbelief. "Is that your car?" Sophia let out a fierce scream, marching toward the Mustang as if she intended to smash it to bits. "How did you come up with the money for this? How many baked goods do you need to whip up to afford a car like this?" Mother burst in, hands on her hips, her voice cutting through the air like a knife. "Vivian, be honest with us. Who gave you the money? Did you take it from me?" I crossed my arms, my voice sharp and cold. "I earned this all on my own. No handouts, no theft. This is my graduation gift from Grandma Eleanor and Grandpa Thomas. Are you surprised?" My mother's face went pale, her hands shaking uncontrollably. "What about your grandparents? What about those two? But how can we do that?" My father moved closer, his voice deep and menacing. "Are you talking about Thomas and Eleanor, those financially struggling seniors I met years back? Seriously, where did they find the cash for a Mustang? Are you pulling my leg?" I grabbed the keys from my pocket and started twirling them between my fingers. "You won't believe it, but they're wealthier than you realize. They made smart investments in contrast to those who waste their cash on vacations." Sophia lunged forward, seizing my wrist with determination. "Hand over the keys. If it's a graduation gift, then I definitely deserve one as well." I pulled my hand away, letting out a chilling chuckle. "Touch my car, Sophia, and find out what happens. You just got back from California. What more could you possibly want?" Mother screamed, her voice cutting through the air. Vivian, how could you say something like that? Hand over the car to Sophia. She truly deserves it more than you do. As a baker, what's the deal with needing a luxury car? My father gave a nod. Absolutely. Sophia is heading to college and she needs a dependable ride. Can you really just walk? I took a step back, my fingers clutching the keys firmly. This belongs to me, and I won't let anyone take it away. It was my grandma and grandpa who gave it to me, not this family. My mother spun to face my father, panic evident in her eyes. Henry, reach out to Eleanor and find out where she got the funds to pamper Vivian like this. My father grabbed his phone, his fingers flying over the keys in a furious dial. As Thomas answered, his voice resonated through the speaker. Calm, yet piercing. Hey Henry, it's been a while. How have you been? What do you think of Vivian's car? Isn't it beautiful? My father struggled to speak. Seriously, where did you score the cash for a Mustang? Don't tell me you won the lottery. Thomas burst into laughter. No need for the lottery here. I invested years ago, and now I'm wealthier than you. Vivian truly deserves this, unlike others who only know how to walk away from her. My mother grabbed the phone, her voice turning unexpectedly sweet and smooth. Hey Dad, it's been ages. How about I come over for a visit? Let's have a conversation. Together as a family. Thomas's voice became icy. Thanks, Margaret, but we're only welcoming Vivian. Don't even consider asking for money. Tap here. The call has wrapped up. My mother stood there pale and shocked, while Sophia let out a piercing scream. Why does Vivian always get everything? I can't take it anymore. I marched to my car, swung the door open, and then glanced back. If you can't handle me, that's on you. Next time, though, I won't be your shadow. With the engine roaring to life, I could hear my mother's voice piercing through the air behind me. Vivian, get back here! We're not done yet! I sped away, leaving them staring in disbelief behind me.